Welcome back, everybody. Thursday, May 20th. John Arvosa is here with Cliff Schechter and our special guest, James Carville. Most of you know, except maybe some of our English friends don't, but you should. Chester James Carville Jr. I did not know your first name was Chester. Chester James Carville Jr. is an American political consultant who has strategized for candidates for public office in the U.S. and 23 other countries, and is perhaps most famous for his work as the lead strategist of the successful presidential campaign of then Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton in 1992. Carville served 2 years in the Marine Corps. I did not know. Got his JD from Louisiana State University. I also did not know. And in addition to political consulting work, he's the co-host of the Politics War Room podcast. James, welcome. Obviously,
Thank you for being here.
Here.
Thank you. The local paper just ran a story that, my name was Chester James Carville Jr. My mother never wanted me to be called Junior, Jim, or Jimmy.
Right.
Ergo, I've never been known by anything but James, but that is the.
It's now being rehabilitated.
I don't know. I think once I've been calling you something for 76 years, probably usage takes precedent,
And I have to jump in quickly, John. I feel like I have to say something, James. Obviously, you're most known for Bill Clinton's victory in '92. But as a young undergraduate at the University of Pennsylvania in the early '90s, I will always remember you, even pre-Clinton, for a certain guy named Wofford against Dick Thornburg. I would think I was a freshman at the time at Penn, and I still think that, what was that, a 50, 60, 70-point comeback? I think that's still maybe the one.
I think the first poll, we were down like 61-15 or something like that,
Yeah.
But it was fun, and I'd worked a lot in Pennsylvania before and still stay kind of been interested in Pennsylvania politics. And that was just a lot of fun when you just come from behind like that, and got afterburners going.
Against Thornburg, who was the AG at the time, so everybody was like, this, name recognition and all of that.
And he was a former governor and was rather popular. Remember when I worked for Bob Casey in '86 when we took over from Thornburg. So it was.
And that, for folks who are younger, is the father of the current Senator Casey of Pennsylvania. So
that, very much so. As the current Senator Casey said, he used to work for me in 1986. I was his boss. I was a campaign manager.
Good times. All right, John, you jump in with your questions. I had to go through a little history.
Still a history thing, though. One thing that really stood out for me, and it's funny because, I think all of us working in Democratic politics obviously have known who you are for decades, but the personal stuff is interesting to me. Your Wikipedia page says your mother, Lucille Carville, a former school teacher, spoke French at home. Now, mind you, we're talking Louisiana here for folks who don't realize. French at home, and sold the World Book Encyclopedia. God, we still got our set from 1966 downstairs. It's hilarious. But yeah, mom sold the World Book. Dad, door to door. Your father, Chester, there you go, the name, was a postmaster as well as the owner of a general store. Your parents sound so quintessential America, at least from my upbringing, like in the 60s.
Right. So my mother, first of all, she grew up was a child in the Vols Parish. It's meaningless to you, but it's in the northern part of the Cajun, what they call the Anglo-Saxon Cajun Triangle. And no one ever knew her as Lucille. Her name was Nippy. It's the only thing people called her. And she was named after a tramp. And during the Depression, she would give him food, and they called him Nip because he was always taking a nip out the bottle. So that's my royal lineage, if you will.
Mom's named after an alcoholic. That's nice.
You were meant for politics.
Right. And so she sold World Book. And I'll tell you the story. It's the greatest sales story I've ever seen. She was an incredible salesperson. And we'd ride around. I was like 12, 13 years old. And she said, boy, let's look for a bass boat and a bicycle. So we know they have disposable income and children at home. So we would spot it. And she'd knock on the door. This was late 50s Louisiana, And
right.
So a lady at the house that opened doors open, please come in. And she said, well, I'm selling these educational materials. By the way, James, what's the capital of Vermont? Montpelier. Oh, my God. What's the capital of Oregon? Salem. Oh, he's a goddamn genius. And she said, oh, it's our World Book Encyclopedia. And so inevitably, the man of the house would come in and he would say, well, Miss Carville, school's getting ready to start and we're a little short of cash and got the holidays coming up. Why don't you come back in 6 months and maybe we can work something out? And she looked at him. She says, I find it strange that you can afford a bass boat for yourself, but you can't afford educational materials for your children. And the guy just like, wow, he was just a pile of salt. He was signing anything.
Oh my God. The sledgehammer right there.
Oh, yeah. Now, you could just see it coming. And I go, oh, you poor bastard. You don't know what you get ready, what you're in for. So,
oh, God.
She was quite a person. My dad, he was a college boxing was a big sport. It was a big sport at LSU. And it was Wisconsin was the kind of Notre Dame of college boxing back in the 30s. So I had an interesting upbringing.
Did you end up speaking French at all or no?
No, my mother and her mother did. And we were in a place in Louisiana called Pierrepont, which is in Assumption Parish. And so we stopped to get some crawfish, and these two Cajuns in French were talking about how they were going to screw them over. But they led into those two guys. Big error.
Always knowing the language when they're talking about you. That's hilarious.
Yeah, big error. I'll never forget
is your sort of rambunctiousness from your mom or your dad?
Oh, much more my mama.
I was thinking just from what you're telling us. Yeah.
That's my dad was he was a boxer, and he was in the Army during World War II. I was born at Fort Benning, but my mother was the dominant person in the house.
Oh, that's great. Well, okay, we'll dive into the politics. I mean, look, the original reason we wanted to get you, and we still do, is to talk about your recent sort of messaging, Vox interview, and all of that.
Right.
And we'll start with that, but then we definitely want to talk about the election coming up and all of that, of course.
John and I'll say quickly, feel pretty strongly about the messaging part of it. The fact that
we agree
not only do we lack the distribution networks of the right, but that we won't say what they say, right? We kind of say things in a mealy-mouthed kind of, oh, well, you seem kind of bad. I just the other day made a point about this. I'll just say very quickly.
Yep.
And I don't want to, I'm not saying anything bad. Benny Thompson, actually, Louisiana, I think from down there, Mississippi,
right?
Right. Great congressman. I think he does a lot of good. But, when they refused to vote in favor of this January 6th commission and McCarthy said he wouldn't, he in a very nice way said, oh, well, I think that they're probably hiding something that might be what it is. I look back at what Jim Jordan, that guy said, when
you're talking about the guy that 6 wrestlers told him that the doctor was molesting them. We're talking about the same Jim Jordan who is.
We are. I'm in Ohio.
Is Dennis Hassett, who's in jail.
Bingo.
A wrestling coach molesting wrestlers. That's the Jim Jordan we speak about.
Yes, this is what we're talking about.
I just wanted to be sure that we identified.
Because this is exactly what we're talking about. Because when college wrestling even comes up, we should be like, that's literally the Republican, that's their murderer's row of molesters in their party. And so Benny Thompson said this very nice thing, and I look back at Benghazi, and you've got Jim Jordan saying, "Oh, Secretary Clinton just did this because there's an election. She's a liar. And the way they talk about us, and then we say these nice things about them. How do we change that culture?"
Well, first of all, Benny he's been around for a long time, and I think he's nostalgic for when people were civil to each other, and he's kind of a gentleman, and it's probably just the nature of it. It has driven me crazy all my life. And what Democrats to do is, we need to include everybody. We need to be inclusive. We have complex problems that have complex solutions, and we don't need sound bites. No, you do need sound bites. And if you want to win a campaign in a democracy, you can't run a Democratic campaign. You can't take a vote. All right? You just can't do that. You can't listen to everybody. And that is it's so difficult in Democratic culture to get that through. And generally, the only time you get through is after you get beat. All right.
Yep.
And they lapse back to jargon and complexity and multifaceted problems we face as a country.
Dangling participles and
all that shit. Yeah. It's been a fight all of our political life.
Why?
Do you know what? Is that just our culture because we're liberal? We don't know what it is. It's frustrating as hell. Tim Ryan gave a speech on the floor yesterday that was so straight. That was excellent. And why are not the rest of us doing that shit?
Right. Well, he actually spoke English.
Yes.
Which is rare. Right.
But why? What is you give that interview, and Cliff and I are jumping for joy going, you literally raised points we've raised. And it seems so obvious, but what is it that our party doesn't do this more? Why? Because
our default position is inclusion.
Yeah.
All right. Our default.
Which sounds nice, right?
It sounds nice. It doesn't work. And so what had happened with this dictionary rewriting is when I say everybody, I'm sure there were some people that didn't, but not very many. Every conversation you had thought it was the same thing. And everybody is mortified because if they say something,
right,
they're going to get fired. Well, the truth of the matter is there's nothing to fire me from.
Yeah.
Okay. I just, okay, you can cancel me all you want. I don't really give a shit. Right. And the guy that did the interview, Sean Illing, he lives in Gulfport.
Right.
And
cool.
A veteran just like I am. And he has a PhD from manship at LSU. And so he came and, put the tape card on and interviewed me in South Mississippi. And I just remember in the back of my mind saying, I'm just going to say what I think. All right. And the response, I got woke people thanking me. It's just an exhausting way to live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're diehard, we're Democrats, right? And we care about when it comes to our policies and all of that, including people and whatever. But when you run a campaign, you need to fucking message. And these days we're running campaigns every day. I mean, it's a constant campaign cycle.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And we're letting ourselves get trapped in this vortex of not speaking plainly to people. Right. And it has to stop. And I'll say I was very gratified by the reception that the piece got, both in the terms of how many people saw it, and Al Sharpton said, well, of course James is right. That's the language I used to speak to George Floyd's family. Okay. Jamie Harrison said, yeah, James is right. Clarence Page, probably the most respected Black journalist in modern American history, wrote a column saying I agree with James's point.
Yeah.
All right. But we've become so accustomed to talking about, I don't know who lives in a goddamn community of color. I know. All right. I know people live in a neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah. And people in Y'all will fight you if you say they live in one neighborhood and it's another neighborhood. Yeah. All right. I know plenty of people live in Y'all's East or Central City, 7th Ward or anything like that. But you act like you're trying to talk. You're trying to talk around people or use some jargon that they don't use. Shit.
Well, James, wait, Cliff, real quick. I'm visiting my mom in Chicago, and the local ABC affiliate yesterday was talking about something with the Latino community, and of course, they said the Latinx community. And I'm like, you're the local Chicago affiliate. You're local news. Nobody in Chicago uses that term. My mom wouldn't even know what it is.
Univision will not allow it to be used.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Oh, wow. Okay. And it's like 3%.
Yeah.
Describe themselves as Latinx, and they all on the faculty of some college.
You know what you made me think of? Sorry, Cliff, one more point. Mom's always been my barometer, like 91-year-old Midwest Republican, but didn't vote for Trump, Greek immigrant, that whole thing. Mom, a couple of years ago, we're watching CNN and she goes, wait, what did he say? What is DOJ? And I realized, even things like that, we use this terminology. If Mom doesn't know what DOJ is on CNN, she clearly doesn't know what BIPOC and Latinx and LGBTQIA+, which I just learned is the new name for my community.
I'm a big believer that people have a right to be called what they want to be called. All right. And so, and that's fine. Language evolves, but when in political speak, you got to speak the language of the people.
Yeah. And we didn't choose to be called, but also Latinos didn't choose to be called Latinx. People of color did not choose to be called BIPOC. I didn't choose to be called LGBTQIA+. I mean, that gets into a whole issue of democratic politics or the left overall, but we didn't even choose, and it confuses people. That's my problem.
Right, it does. And I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Confusion. It's like your mother DOJ. What is that?
Well, that one blew me away when she said that because it really sort of did things in my head where I went, we use all this terminology, and CNN all day long. CNN's using abbreviations for agencies. Nobody has a clue what they're talking about outside of Washington.
Right.
Anyway, very interesting.
Yeah, that's fine for NPR, but people would have said they shouldn't do that. NPR is so woke. I'll keep it on in my truck so I'll never fall asleep.
We love NPR, though. We love NPR.
I love NPR. I love it. I listen to it all the time. But they had a 45-minute segment on the proper way to address an incarcerated person.
Oh, God. I know.
And what was the conclusion there?
Well, it depended on what it could be a prisoner. It could be, normal. I forgot. I was just
an imprisoned American. Is that
an incarcerated person?
Oh my God!
Yeah. I mean, and it was 45 minutes, and it followed by 45 minutes of how our diet is destroying the monarch butterfly.
Well,
and to me, this is the reason why
I don't listen to anything else. I mean, I'm hooked in many ways.
Right. But no, and I find that interesting too. But that's why for me, I feel like a lot of the people that talk about politics need to have worked on a campaign and tried talking to regular people to understand what the hell that actually means. Because bringing up Philly again, I wrote this whole thesis on Northeast Philly. We called them back then, Reagan Democrats, but we called them Rizzo Democrats. And I know you'll know what that means, James. Of course I know that. Frank Rizzo. Right. And I went by there, in my background, I'm not religious at all, but my background is Jewish. And I was going in there. I'd go door to door and they'd be like, that lying Jew, Ed Rendell, blah, 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 blah. And they use the N-word and they do this and that. But there are other people, you go to who are more moderate, more whatever. And if you spoke to them like a human being, that's where Bob Borski used to get elected. That was the first race I worked on in Northeast Philly. Yeah. And we try to, and it was like, talk to them. You have to talk to them like people. You may not agree with them on everything. You may not love everything they're saying, but if you come to them with these academic terms, they don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You lose them right away before you even get to the beginning.
And by the way, they already are predisposed to think that you're like arrogant and, hardy and think of yourself as a hardy-tardy person. So when you start losing that language, you just confirm an existing suspicion.
That's exactly right.
We are very good at that.
Expand on something here. I was watching your CBS interview you just did, and it was interesting. She was very good, actually. She got a lot of good stuff out of you.
She was quite good. And
she got good stuff out of you. Yeah. Well, you were giving your gumbo story. I'm going to say the quote, but explain to people what you mean, because I think it's a good relation with what we're just talking about. You said, I hate when we try to exclude people from our gumbo.
Right.
What's the gumbo story?
The gumbo story is this, that of course we all have an identity, right? But if you let's just take a shrimp and okra gumbo. I've just been reading this recipe out of this Mosquito Supper Club in New Orleans. Yeah. The shrimp, you can see the shrimp. It retains its shape, its form. You can see the okra disc, but they're part of something larger. They're part of what goes into making a gumbo a great dish. So that's the way that I think Americans should look at themselves. Yes, you might be Hispanic or whatever, or you might be black, or you might be white, or you might be, gay, or you might be anything else, and that's fine. Or Italian or Greek, as you are. The Greeks are very, they have the identity, but you're part of a gumbo. You're not you're not an individual dish. And just what I just like the metaphor of the ingredients can maintain some of their integrity, but they're about something bigger. Because of shrimp and okra gumbo is much better than shrimp by itself, is much better than okra by itself. And that's the kind of way that I think Americans should look at each other, is that we're not at war with each other. We are sort of operating in concert with each other together. And the more people view that, the better off we're going to be.
Is it a messaging concern or what? Or are you also saying it just doesn't work?
Well, it's somewhat of a message and concern, but it's more of a message to our own people that, and I don't really understand this identity over everything else. I mean, my first identity is I'm a human being. My second identity is that I'm an American. And I look at that when she was doing it, I was looking at my picture and I said, holy moly, I'm white. Shit, I need to get some sun,
Right. You're a very white American.
Yeah. Damn, man. I look like I just drank some Trump's bleach or Clorox or
something. Well, I can also speak as a very white American, too. And I just feel like that's exactly the point. We always talked about a melting pot in this country. The point is, maybe that's not exactly the same thing, but we all have our own identities. But exactly as you said, I'm an American first. And as a Democratic Party, we're putting together a coalition. We're not just all fucking tiki torch white guys like the Republican Party. We're bringing people together, and if we're trying to divide people, we're fucking that up.
Well, and I like the gumbo metaphor much better than the melting pot, because in the melting pot everything becomes the same. I'm saying I'm fine with you know.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
Go.
You know, one thing, James, that you made me think of, and again, I'm almost afraid to bring it up because I know it's going to be misconstrued against me. But all the voting rights stuff going on. A lot of people on our side are framing it as they're trying to stop black voters from voting. We're not framing it as they're trying to steal the fucking elections. We're basically making it about black voters. So if you're a white voter who may not care about black people, you go, well, okay, that's about them. And we do that a lot. I think even though, the identities are important. I say this as a gay man. I've had to talk about my identity because it's the only way I was able to get my rights expanded, right? So I get the reason why people expound on their identities a bit too much. I do it. But when it starts to, again, block your message from getting across, most Americans don't listen and go, oh, well, black people can't vote. This is bad for me. They say, well, I'm white.
Damn it.
Right? Oh, did we lose it? Can you hear us still, James, or not?
No, that's good. Allie's not here. Can you turn my phone off or something that keeps interrupting?
Oh, that's okay. We couldn't hear your phone, just so you know.
Oh, you couldn't hear it. Okay, never mind.
No,
never mind, Allie. Never mind. Okay, go ahead.
And my dog will be a lot louder than your phone, so don't worry.
So one of the things to think about in identity, when you were growing up, you were aware that you were gay almost all of your waking hours.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If a person is black, they're aware. They walk into a bar, they're aware. I'm a white straight guy. I don't think about it that much,
right?
Because and so you have to respect. It's just the norm, all right? And I happen to be, well, maybe not so much now, but for most of my life, I was, in the white Christian, actually Catholic, but we're Christians, white Christian male.
Right. Yep.
And so I want to be clear. I'm totally cool with people having their identity and having integrity and pride about their identity, but it's about something else also.
Right.
And that's the only point I'm trying.
Well,
that's the point I'm trying to make.
Sell it to America at large. I mean, I think the ACA, Cliff and I have talked about this too. We sold the ACA originally, Obamacare, as being about helping poor people get insurance. And I was like, no, it benefits everybody. People still don't realize it benefits everybody.
We're finding that out. And look in Florida, as I point out in the piece, I think 64% voted to give felons the right to vote. Of course, the legislature didn't follow it. So the basic thing is, it ought to be framed as basic fairness. Look, let's have an election where we include as many people as we can. Let's count the votes. And, I have a strange philosophy. The person with the most votes wins the election.
Right.
Okay, that's it. And we don't have why not do that? That would be radical. That would be different. That would be quite democratic.
Yeah.
We're fighting over the concept of democracy itself.
Right.
So now Liz Cheney is a heroine because she believes in democracy. Well, that used to be the kind of basic test to get in the game. Now it's like you're praising people for having great integrity who believe that we should count votes and whoever got the most votes wins the election.
I guess,
wow.
I want to make sure, just because, again, for people misconstruing things, and it all happens watching it, like, we're all saying the same thing here. Everyone should have their identity. Everyone should be proud of their identity. It's just when it comes time to messaging, we need to find, we can't be splitting everybody up into little groups and you're different and you're this. We need a message to a larger group, and you can do both. You can let people be proud of their identities and support that while also messaging for everyone.
Right. Of course you can. And I mean, no one has a problem with St. Joseph's Day Altar or St. Patrick's Day Parade or Juneteenth or Cinco de Mayo, any of that. That's great. Mardi, we have Mardi Gras. Shit.
The more chances to drink, the better.
Right.
I mean,
why not? Why not? I always.
These are a lot of drinking holidays you just brought up, just so we note.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's all right. It's
better than okay. It's recommended.
It's a popular thing out there. People like it. Need to be preached to about it. But or you see me on television. I'm always wearing an LSU thing, or something kind of local. I mean, that's fine. I'm not against people having pride or studying their identity or knowing its history and anything else. That's all. I'm cool with that.
Right.
But God damn. Go ahead.
Again, we don't hear it. Just
I know. Okay.
Yeah, your mic is that
good. Elections are about coalitions. Elections are about winning more votes than the other guy.
We are traditionally a party of coalitions, and our coalition has shifted significantly. But I want to add to the coalition. All right, and there are people that say, it's not really important that we win the election. It's what we have to argue. But no, it's important we win the election. Okay.
Yeah.
If you win the argument and lose the election, it doesn't do you goddamn good. All right. And people think that politics is a kind of dirty word. No, it's not. It's how you do things in this country. It's how you get things done. It's how you help people, or just as important, it's how you hurt people. And it does matter. The nightmare of Trump, and this is something I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a couple minutes. The Democrats need to talk about crime. It is an issue. It is an increasing issue. It probably is not going to go away anytime soon. Now, the truth of the matter is, every president since Bill Clinton has inherited a decline in crime rate and left office with a further decline in the crime rate. The only president that did not is Donald J. Trump. He has the worst record on crime of any president in modern American history. We got to understand that. And I know what these Democratic consultants do. Oh, James, we got to take that off the table and talk about the economy. Don't talk about crime, talk about health care. No, because crime affects people's lives. And if you don't acknowledge that, then you're speaking a different language. So if somebody says, I was in Center City, Philadelphia. I was in, whatever, Passyunk, and it's just that crimes. And you go, well, no, but talk about what the jobless rate is. No, that's a problem. And by the way, we're gonna do the following things to deal with this.
Yeah.
But they'll all within the, a lot of the more left-wing people,
they don't want to talk about
want to get rid of prisons. What?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Right.
What do you think they got in Orleans Parish Prison? Geez. Yeah. And there's a lot of people in there don't need to be there. We did, I'm not for a guy, selling an ounce of weed to be in jail, but I'm not for a guy that's raped 7 women for being out of jail. Okay.
No, that's not someone you want to go to brunch with, probably.
No.
Right.
I know, and I think that's important. And I think what you always, when I remember the '92 campaign, it's the economy stupid, also healthcare. We can create a narrative that wraps all of these issues. It's not like, if we talk about crime now, we can't talk about the economy. I mean, that's what's so ridiculous.
I know, and that's why these consultants drive me crazy, right? Oh no, James, we got to take that off the table. Well, if people want it on the table, you can't take it off the table,
right?
All right, and look, people face a lot of challenges in everyday life. They face the challenges of stagnant incomes, of insufficient access to health care, and they face challenges of personal safety. And a political party has to be aware of the challenges that the public faces, and its voters face every day. And that's the way you can talk about it.
And crime is starting to become a little bit of a verboten issue for us, as you just said. I find it. Right. I'm on one of my local email lists. I'm on in DC in Adams Morgan. People are always talking about some crime or something going on, and they always are. And then somebody chimes in, "Don't call the police. Do not call the police." And I finally jumped in once, and I was like, "Yeah, fucking call the police. Are you insane? I don't want to shoot black people. I'm with you, but we're not going to fucking call the police when there's crime going on. Then it'll happen to you next time. I mean." But regular voters must hear that and their head explodes, I feel like.
Well, I've sat through a gazillion focus groups with urban people. And if you do a focus group in New Orleans, and this would be of black people, right. One of the things I guarantee you're going to hear, let me tell you something. If there's some crime in the French Quarter or uptown New Orleans, the police will be there in 3 minutes. If there's a crime in our neighborhood, they'll be there in 3 hours.
Right.
The principal complaint is they don't get there fast enough.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing is, again, the crime issue itself, I feel like creates this perfect opportunity for us to create a broader message and remind people who the Republicans are. be like, I'm against crime, whether it's taking place on the streets or whether it's Republicans storming the Capitol on January 6th, or whether it's Denny Hastert trying to grab the ass of a wrestler he's with, or I'm against all crime and we should be prosecuting all of it.
Absolutely. And the biggest criminal of all is Trump.
Right.
There's nothing wrong pointing out. I agree.
Well, I mean, they just opened a criminal. I mean, they just said now in New York, this is now a criminal investigation into the Trump organization. So we should want to talk about crime because this guy is a fucking criminal. He is a criminal. His family are criminals. And we can talk about street crime and say we need to stop street crime. We also need to stop the guys like Donald Trump that are ripping off the country.
I tell you, have y'all seen this Alex Gibney documentary on HBO, The Crime of the Century?
No, what is it?
I haven't seen it. No.
You can't imagine the corruption in this country. And I'm a very short attention span guy. All right. It was like 4 hours. It's 2 segments. And I was just I couldn't stop watching it. And I couldn't stop getting angry. And it just, I'm going to get him on my podcast, but I highly recommend it.
What's the show about generally?
Basically about the opioid crisis.
Oh, okay.
Oh God.
It goes deeper than that. And it goes like, McKesson and Cardinal Health and the way, and just a staggering amount of money that was made and the staggering lack of accountability that we have. And buying off to Congress. And, I got to tell you, some Democrats don't look great in this. The only good thing is probably the person that looks the worst is Marsha Blackman, who could argue.
All right.
The worst human being that exists.
She's definitely a
and actually who looks pretty good are 2 of the great villains, according to the right. The bureaucrats look really good.
Huh.
And the trial lawyers look pretty good.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
went after these guys.
Yeah, they had money to be made.
whatever reason. I mean, at least they pursued the thing.
Yeah.
No, I live now I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you go an hour. And I know you worked for Wallace Wilkinson in Kentucky, so I know you've got a background there. Right. I met my wife working against McConnell in Kentucky. Actually, how I ended up here. And I'll tell you, you go an hour and a half east of here, Portsmouth, places like that. Oh, they're just ravaged. They've been destroyed.
That's West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, they've been destroyed by this stuff. And in eastern Kentucky. Oh. And I mean, these are the places we're saying, well, we got to be.
Exactly. They knew exactly where it was going. I mean, you can't believe the marketing thing that they did. I mean, it however mad you are now, however.
Oh, my God.
I think it is.
I'll have to see it.
Because it's just. The corruption is a huge issue. And we should, anytime we're asked about crime, we should talk about crime and segue right to corruption.
Exactly.
Okay. And we need, you're right. We got to do something about street crime, but just as importantly, we see these pharmaceuticals just stealing money left and right. And so I guess somebody on the street says, well, if they steal it, then I'll steal. What's the difference between stealing from, taxpayers are stealing from the 7-Eleven.
Right. James, go ahead, John.
Yeah, James, let me ask you, because I feel like a lot of what we're discussing is traditional Democratic messaging, meaning let's talk about how we win elections, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that's really worrying me, though, Cliff and I both, is that we're at some kind of inflection point or something for our democracy overall. And I worry that just having a simple debate about how we message better isn't what's going on. We've got one political party, and I still don't understand what the hell is going on with Republican voters. I mean, I know people here in the Chicago area who literally said to me before the election, well, a former FBI agent, smart person, says to me, Donald Trump has done a lot to get black unemployment down. And I looked at her and went, you don't fucking give a damn about black unemployment. Republicans are defending this lunatic. They had the insurrection. Now we're just kind of whitewashing the insurrection. There's something much bigger going on than just we need to message better. How do we fight back when I'm a little afraid we're losing everything?
There are, let's say, 35% of the people in this country, and people, we're trying to figure out how to talk to them about vaccines, how to talk to them about climate, how to talk to them. I've become increasingly an attitude, fuck them. They're just stupid. They choose to be stupid. And let's just talk to the 65% of the country that has some sense.
Yes.
But, if somebody believes, that the earth is 5,000 years old, and they believe that vaccines of Bill Gates is putting a computer chip. I don't know if there's much you can do for that person.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I
go
mean,
for the middle.
Try
go for the middle and screw.
I will tell you though, at the Creation Museum south of me in Kentucky, the Noah the Ark ride is a lot of fun. You know, if you feel like wasting some time, you go take the Noah the Ark ride. You get to ride on a dinosaur with a saddle, and you know.
Yeah, I've been by that place. You're right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. It's
you can't.
Fucking crazy when you go. I mean, you're just like,
it's literally insane. But somebody makes money off of it, so.
But are you not? But James, okay, fair enough. But again, that's a traditional argument about yes, let's get the Democrats and let's go for the middle. I'm talking about, are we in danger of losing the whole ball of wax right now? And what's our response?
I'm not saying we need to go to the middle. I'm saying that I think I've come to the conclusion, and although I was very big on doing this and trying to get an approach that's effective, I don't think anything's effective to reach these people.
Yeah,
I really don't. Now, look, I think we can certainly cut our margins, and that's what we did in 2020 to some extent. We have to continue. The difference between getting beat 80-20, all right, and the difference between getting beat 72-28 is sea level.
Yeah.
All right. Sea level. And, you know,
that could be the difference in Pennsylvania, right? Or
it is. It was it. Yeah, absolutely. It was a difference. We did a little better in Cambria County, you know, and similarly, you know, Butler County, a similar situated place. So it did. It was the margin. And there's no reason, you know, we got to speak to people. And if you speak to people in a relevant way and talk about things that's relevant to them, because most of the stuff that is relevant to the Democratic-based voter is also relevant to a lot of rural white voters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you guys down there, you got John Bell Edwards elected and reelected, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, we were lucky, you know, that we got to run against Vitter the shitter.
Oh, that's so it was kind of
poops in a diaper.
well, only when he's with his mother.
Yeah. It was kind of like
and John Bell's got, I mean, he doesn't lapse into any of that, you know, but Doug Jones is great, and he got slaughtered in Alabama. Yeah. I mean, the national, all of the national way that some of the national Democrats talk hurts Democrats in the rest of the country.
Right.
Jim Clyburn will tell you the same thing. All right.
Yep.
I mean, they're like, you know, they get angry at some of the people in their caucus that you're costing us votes.
Right.
With your,
right.
You know, with
now,
your
look, James, we agree with you on this stuff, but there is a question. We had Paul Bagala on, of course, a week or two ago, came on the show. We talked to him about this too. What do we do? You know, I'm not one of these sort of, you know, I have to go after everybody I disagree with slightly. But when it comes to Joe Manchin right now, what do we do? Because in the end, if these guys kill voting rights, if they take the ability to determine elections away from secretaries of state and put them in these partisan gerrymandered state legislatures, I mean, what do we do to get Manchin to say, okay, civil rights are more important than a fucking filibuster?
First of all, Joe Manchin has to run in a state that a Democrat hadn't carried a county since 2008. I'm sure Paul made that point to you, right?
Right. Now, it's a 68% Trump state. We went over that last time.
And I think that Joe Biden is acutely aware of how important Senator Manchin is, and I think we got to give him some space to kind of work things out.
Okay.
Right? That's what I really think. And I think
he's going to win next time?
Senator Manchin?
Yeah, Cliff is worried that he's not going to win.
You know, but look, you're running a state that your party hadn't carried a county since 2008. You're right to have some concern, but he's popular, he's skilled, and he's smart.
Yep, and I'm okay with. Look, I don't need to agree with him. I'm not demonizing him in any way.
Well,
I think
the choice is you get Joe Manchin, you get another Marshall Black,
right, or worse. Right?
It's not the choice between Joe Manchin and AOC.
Right. I'm not anti-Joe Manchin. My only point is, how do we get, because I wouldn't mind even if we can't pass certain stuff that I want to pass. It's just the voting rights stuff to me. That's the ball game.
I think his colleagues are aware of that, and I think the president is aware of that.
Okay.
And I think that there are ongoing discussions about this.
Right. Because I've said to John on this show, I'm like, look, you know, we can't, some people out there yelling about Joe Manchin, like, we'd be lucky if we don't get a swamp creature if he's not the one. What we get out of West Virginia Republican Party is frightening. So I know that we're lucky to have him there. It's just the voting rights issue to me because of what they're doing.
I think he's probably aware of that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
He can't go on the first date. Okay, that's the
I gotcha. That seems fair.
James,
we'll bring him around maybe the third date or so. You know, a movie.
Yeah. James, we got you for probably 5 more minutes. What should our messaging be for 2022 and 2024?
Well, first of all, try what we did in 2018. Go out and recruit really good, diverse candidates and talk about things that matter to people's lives. All right. We did that in 2018. We had the most successful off-year election in terms of turnout and margin that we've had in 100 years. Of course, as soon as 2020 came, we were back to same old food fight over the, same old jargon shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, it wasn't like the Democrats didn't weigh in on the kind of party they wanted to have, because the people, the faculty lounge had plenty of people to choose from. Joe Biden is the most non-faculty lounge person I've ever known, and he won decisively. So all of these people, I said, you don't believe in democracy. I mean, that the argument as to whether we expand Obamacare or go to single payer was decided decisively by Democrats. I'm sorry. You ran an election, you had well-funded candidates, they were very articulate, they were in every debate, and they all, other than Joe Biden, they all have something in common. They got their asses beat. And why don't you listen to your own voters? That's my point.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And we don't need it. Everybody wants to do a new strategic thing, or, Daniel Morgan at Cowpens, a brilliant double envelopment. All right. No, the winning playbook is right in front of you. It's called 2018. Right.
No, I think you're right. I mean,
and Joe Biden 2020.
Right.
Right.
I mean, like, we just got Val Demings who's jumping in. It looks like against Rubio in Florida.
I love her.
Yeah, I love her too. She diverse, just so strong. So she's not one of those that speaks mealy mouth. She comes out and she says shit. And so
I'm so far her. I'm so glad that she's running.
Me too. So we need more like that. I would agree with you. If we can get more.
Right.
So anything else that we're missing about the fate of the world, James, that you can help us with, from good gumbo to, I don't know. We'll leave it to you.
I don't think I can say it's just so disappointing in some ways to see the way people are acting with this vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, good God. I've just, some guy had an interaction with a guy who's 51, and he told me I had a heart attack, and he looked at it. And I said, have you been vaccinated yet? He said, yeah, I think I'm going to wait and see. Wait and see. I said, hey, man, there's 160 million of us that had the vaccine, and we got two things in common. We're all walking around and breathing. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, what's he waiting for on that one? I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hell, here in Ohio, we have to fucking do a lottery, give people $1 million each for 5 weeks, and it worked. Like, it kicked up.
I wanted to jump through the TV and kiss Tim Ryan when he said what he said.
Oh, me too.
I mean,
I think he, to me, reminds me a lot of Sherrod Brown. I think he connects with regular people. I think we actually have a great shot in that race.
I do too. And I'm going to help him any way I can.
Yeah.
Because I think he and Val are. I'm very enthusiastic about these two campaigns.
Right. Me too. I hope we get someone who's of that ilk in Pennsylvania and a few of the other places in Wisconsin.
Well, we got some potential good people in North Carolina.
That would be good too.
Yeah.
James, I did. Sorry, go ahead, Cliff.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, I did some work through an IE, did some ads in the Senate race, and that was a heartbreaker there, because Cunningham, all of our polling had him a couple points ahead of Biden until the whole scandal came out.
Right.
And that just killed us.
I had a lot of good friends in that. And Morgan Jackson, who ran the campaigns, was a really good guy. However, Morgan thinks that North Carolina is, that we did better in 2020, and he actually thinks we're in pretty good shape for 2022 and 2024. I mean, Georgia seemed to be a little more on track than North Carolina, but not by much. And I think North Carolina and Georgia have the potential to be the new Virginia.
I agree. Yeah, we only lost by 1.25 points or something in North Carolina. Roy Cooper won re-election, and again, Cunningham was running between those two. So he would have won if all that shit hadn't happened. So I still think, yeah. Go ahead, John. You wanted to ask something else.
It's sort of as a parting shot, and I suspect this is a no, but was there any chance that you helped teach debate at Georgetown during a summer program in the 70s?
No.
Oh, God. I had some guy at this debate institute who was this vulgar, like Louisiana guy. And I can't even tell you, I told Cliff what the guy had said. He was telling us how to debate and stuff. And he was using these, I don't mean vulgar, you're a good guy, but I mean, it was these analogies and things that I couldn't believe this guy was using. And it so reminds me of you. Just this very out there, no bullshit. Should have been you.
There's a lot of vulgar people that are good people.
No, that's what we're saying.
People.
They're our favorite people in general.
No, I didn't go. The first time I ever went to Washington was, I think, 1978.
Huh.
Remember the war?
Yeah.
Remember that first time? That was 33 for I went to Washington, New York.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, one last thing I'll throw at you, and then I'll let you go.
Okay,
But
all right.
because you were making me think of this. Another mom example, though. I was asking her because she liked Trump the first time around. And I was like, how the hell could you like Trump? And she goes, but he was open. He said what he thought. He was strong. I just had the feeling he was this strong guy who was going to do something. And I've often said that in politics.
Strong. You can't walk up a flight of steps.
No, but Cliff, voters like a strong man. I feel like, and I say man, I think they like a strong man. They do. Who looks like a corporate CEO type. I've always felt that there's just something that works with the American electorate. And it may be a little lightweight, but
well, you remember it worked with 47%, right? And he got 46.1 in 2016. But there's no doubt that he has a hammerlock. The Republican Party is not a political party; it's a personality cult, and we should not delude ourselves of anything else. And I mean, you see all of these people, Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, but they just they can't get their caucus. If they went the other way, they'd be voted out.
Yeah.
They'll be voted out. It's a cult, and we just have to deal with it. It's depressing, and it just doesn't seem to get any better. It just gets worse. Right? And we have to win. God damn it, we have to win. That's the best. All right, guys. Thank you all very
much.
Thanks,
James.
Hey, man.
Fabulous.
Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, all right. Glad
Appreciate it.
Good show. I liked our gumbo better than the melting pot.
I agree with you. Can I steal that from you from now on?
Of course. I stole it from somebody else. Shit. How long do you think about it?
But I'm a Jew from New York. I don't know if the gumbo thing works. So I'll see what I can do.
You're the okra disc. I want to be the soup.
It's the matzah in the soup. It's
what is that? Supposedly
matzo ball soup. I don't know.
Is there some other part of the matzah I can eat?
Seriously, thank you so much.
Bill and Marilyn Monroe, they went to the Carnegie Deli, and she said, they asked Marilyn Monroe, "You want some matzo ball soup? Was there some other part of the matzah I can eat?" I don't know if it's true or not, but what the hell? All right, guys, thank y'all.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh God! All right, I'm getting it. That's really funny. I love it. At first, I didn't get the joke, and I was like, "Oh."
Some other part of the matzah.
Oh God, he cracks me up. Oh, he's so good. And we could talk a few minutes more if there's anything to wrap up with this.
Yeah,
but,
we should. I'm just saying
he didn't quite get where I was going with the insurrection and all that stuff. I wasn't talking about reaching Trump voters. I was saying I think we're not just trying to win legislatively right now. We're literally having a battle for the country, and I worry about our democracy, and I worry that may take a higher level of thinking than just let's get our messaging straight. What is our messaging when we're talking about? You know what I mean?
Well, I think he was making that point, which is, and we all made that point. We all jumped in, right? If we're talking about crime, we need to be talking about crimes against the Constitution too. I mean, we need to be pointing out constantly, as we've said, in not bullshit language. And again, I didn't mean to pick on Benny Thompson, who I think is a great congressman.
It's just picking on, though. I think it's a good example, though.
It's just we need to speak in a straightforward, like the way Tim Ryan did, the way, as we said, Val Demings often does, Eric Swalwell, who's been on this show.
Yeah.
We Ted Lieu, who's been on this show, all the good ones on this show. Yeah. No, but I mean, seriously, we need
to accuse them of something concrete.
Yes, none of this maybe sort of
something.
Right. No, say what it is and go after them and call them what they are. Because again, if we're not constantly, we need a positive message too. But you can, again, walk and chew gum. Right. You can say, here's what they're doing. Meanwhile, here's what we want to do. They want to attack democracy, take voting rights away, tear down walls. They end up killing cops. Here's what we would like to do.
Well, and
here's what we did. Forget what we'd like to do. We put money in your checking account.
Yeah, even like Benny Thompson. Imagine saying, let's talk about what he's hiding. I think he's hiding the fact that he knows some of his members on his own side were complicit in the insurrection. Imagine saying that, and then, whoa!
Then what will the headline say? That's what I was trying to say in that tweet that I said, is that these guys get, if they say something like that, it'll be in the headlines, which is most of what people read. It'll be fodder for cable, which loves that kind of stuff.
CNN all day long. Yep.
Right, and that's what we need to do. I mean, and more, maybe Tim Ryan yesterday, he's been someone more willing to do it. Maybe that's a breakthrough, but we need more and more of our folks saying these kinds of things and being very clear about who they are. To me, because as you said, you can't just talk about, economics and whatever when you've got this. And I agree, you don't have to. You say, look at what we've done for the economy. Look at how we got everybody vaccinated. Look how we pulled this country out. What were they doing while we were doing that? They were telling people not to get vaccinated. They were storming the Capitol. They were trying to rip apart our Constitution and steal votes in these states.
Yep.
I mean, I'm throwing this off the top of my head. It can be messaged and massaged. Point being, that's what the contrast needs to be. Do you want this group of hooligans who are trying to tear everything down, or would you like people that believe in the rule of law and will make your life better?
Well, you know what it almost is, Cliff? It made me think, because in terms of what Carville was saying too, it's almost as if, maybe he was right. It's almost as if subliminally, and I would say subliminally even in our own conscience, like not even aware we're doing it, that we are almost trying to win over the Trump voters, maybe, by not being as mean. You know how the Republicans, they love to call us, communist, baby killer, homosexual pervert, whatever. And then they accuse us. Did you see that horrible thing the Democrats are saying about us? They don't like you, red state.
Oh my God.
And we're literally going, well, no, but my point is, look at what they say about us. And we don't even say barely anything. And then it makes us go, oh my God, we're criticizing red states. We ought to fucking call the red states what they are.
Well, also,
they're a bunch of socialist, federal teat suckers, frankly.
But that's the whole point, John, is like, if we are willing to do that, then to me, in the end, they're going to call us and say you're socialist no matter what. So if they're going to say that the Democrats are being mean, let's earn it.
Oh, I agree on that front. Yes, because they're going to say they have convinced, even like James said about we're elitists, they've convinced the electorate that we hate them anyway. Now, I'm not saying we should hate the electorate, but we're not going to win the Trump voters, and they're going to convince the Trump voters that we're hating on them every day anyway. We ought to use the Trump voters as a foil.
That's what I'm saying.
To win the middle and to rev up the left, but to win the middle and say.
And what I'm saying is the only place I would disagree with you slightly there is don't go after red states. Because again, look, I live in a red state.
States, but Trump voters.
But go after Trump voters and turn everybody else in those states against them. Yeah, exactly. And if you do, and you have a good candidate like a Val Demings or a Tim Ryan, you may just win back Florida. You may win back Ohio. You may hold Pennsylvania. You may knock that communist, talk about fucking Putinite, Ron Johnson propagandist out in Wisconsin. Like, if we make the stakes clear of who they are and what we're trying to do, I think we can win a bunch of those seats. And stave off disaster. And then, of course, there's the House, too, as he was saying, because there's some open seats there and others. And we need to be, and other ones, we need to be recruiting people, and we need to be messaging correctly, particularly as we've talked about to the not Latinx, Latina community, because, we lost a bunch of seats, or in Texas and in Florida that we just shouldn't have lost. That if we talk to people in Miami-Dade and whatever, those are seats. If we want to hold the House, we need to win those 4 or 5 seats back that we shouldn't have lost, at least.
And Paul felt like that was definitely a Latino problem we had in terms of messaging.
There's no doubt. I mean, you can see it in the polling. You can hear it anecdotally from people on the ground. And I do think we risk, not sort of doing the nuanced analysis of we were really, really hurt by the fact that we were not going door to door because of the pandemic. And so a lot of the bullshit we were not.
You don't think?
The Republicans didn't care because they didn't care if people got sick. They didn't believe in it.
I said, were we hurt or were we not hurt by not going?
Oh, absolutely, we were hurt.
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Because imagine you're getting some bullshit messaging that you've been targeted by the right, and you're getting this bullshit messaging about defund the police, socialism, this, that, on Facebook every day, and nobody's answering.
Right.
Suddenly, you have somebody from the Biden campaign or from Florida Democratic Party or whatever knocking on your door and showing you statements that Biden's made where, of course, he doesn't believe that. We don't believe that. But we weren't able to refute a lot of their bullshit because we weren't doing stuff door to door. And people are forgetting that. We need to be better digitally, but we also will be running our on-the-ground programs again. And I do think a certain amount of what we lost was based on that.
Right. Okay.
That we were not.
Yep. Well, which will be different next time, which is good. I mean, one hopes that's a big part of the reason we lost. not lost, but didn't win.
I'm not saying it's all of it, but I do think it absolutely contributed. And remember, there were some close races. We talked about it. We lost one seat in New York State. It was a swing seat by less than 100 votes. We lost to that seat in Iowa, that swing seat, by 6 votes. I mean, you'd think that that's some low-hanging fruit.
Right. All right. So, I think we're done.
I know we've done an hour, but I don't know what else to do.
He's so interesting. Oh my God, that was fun.
Yeah. And I'm not just saying, like, I don't care about the fame stuff, the whatever. Just as an individual to interview and talk to, I could talk to him all day.
He's so interesting. Yeah,
because he's just funny as hell, and the metaphors and
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually, because somebody was talking on Twitter the other day that Bill Gates' wife has clearly organized a very effective divorce campaign.
Yes, she has.
No, this as a publicity, as a PR kind of person, I'm looking at everything she's doing and I'm going, and mind you, it's her. And all the leaks of the different people and everything else. But one of the leaks they did, though, coming back to what you just said, was that at dinner parties, Bill Gates will start talking and he'll just talk for an hour and tell you what he thinks. And I wrote back to the person, I said, I can't think of anything more amazing than sitting for an hour having Bill Gates tell me what he thinks. I'm sorry. And she goes, yes, but look at all those bad things he did. I said, okay, whatever. I get it. But like, we're trying to knock him for being somebody who at a dinner party talks too much. I want Bill Gates.
Sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off. I'm lucky it didn't do that.
Yours didn't make a sound either. But I want Bill Clinton. I want Bill Gates. Right? I would have, I want James Carville. I want Bagala. I want to hear all these people talk for an hour. Make my day. Obama, Mrs. Obama, even better. Michelle.
Oh my God.
But I mean,
everybody you just mentioned, I'd love to be at a dinner table with.
And just sit back and go, anyway. All right. I think we're good. That was.
Yeah. I mean, because look, I think this is a very specific conversation and one we very much wanted to have. Nothing huge has changed. And even the huge things that have changed since our last podcast we mentioned to Carville, which is the criminal, what was a civil becoming a criminal investigation into the Trump organization.
They said today in the news, it's Alan Weisberg or whatever his name is that they're going
Weisselberg, yeah.
Weisselberg, whatever. It's his CFO guy, the chief financial officer, is the guy who is at least one of the subjects of the criminal probe, according to, I think, ABC this morning. Now, whether that's true or not, ABC's reporting.
He was laundering money for all these apparent mobsters. How quickly do you think? I'm sorry?
Oh, if he were. You said if he were?
No, I said he was, according to these. I could say allegedly, but that's what the newspaper. That's what the article.
Yeah, say allegedly.
The article said, and if he and obviously if that's accurate, he's going to want a deal. And he only has all of the financial records. And the beauty of this, John, is it's not just Donald Trump. Remember who was running the Trump organization? Ivanka, Don Jr.
Eric was the top VP.
Right, but they all were involved. I'm still predicting to you. My prediction will still remain the same. The family ends up in Saudi Arabia because they're going to get indicted at some point, and they're going to fucking flee the country. They can think that what's his name in Florida has the right to protect them from going to New York. He can't. The DOJ came out. Sorry, Department of Justice. So I'm not like CNN. Came out and said that no governor can do that. They don't have the legal right to do that, to stop. So I mean. Right. I think, honestly, there's going to be an overnight flight out of the country, and they're going to grab everything they can.
And let me tell you, too. And
it may not be for a few years, to be clear. I'm not saying tomorrow. Go ahead.
Even if Weisselberg, whatever.
Weisselberg.
I got to look it up. But even if.
Jewishberg. Sorry, that was me.
You can say that, right? even if he's innocent, okay, even if the allegations aren't true, he's being raked over the coals in a criminal probe.
Yep.
They could sit there and say, you know what, rather than you having a heart, because I mean, honestly, I would be freaked out even if I were innocent. You know what I mean? Because you sit there and go, oh my God, are they going to get something on me? Did I do something wrong? Did I fuck up somehow? I mean, 5 years, which is probably going to be of the FBI trying to find dirt on you, I'd be freaked out. If they were to say it'll all go away if you simply turn on your boss and tell us where the bodies are buried, and you won't, we'll exempt you to, pardon you totally. If I were him, I'd be like, you know what? It might be worth it going away.
Rather than the rest of his life, he's looking at hell. They even offered him we'll give you 2 years and 18 months probation or something.
Right.
You'd have to be crazy not to take it.
Yeah. And because even if he's innocent at this point, you want that shit to go away. So they may be able to get him to turn on Trump or the Trumps. But I can't imagine anything better than getting some of those people indicted, but they better be indicted with a case that sticks.
Right. Again, I'm not Pollyannish about stuff. I don't believe the world always works out the way we wish it would. What I do believe here, and the reason I believe it'll happen, is I think attacked so many people whose asses he used to kiss, like Cyrus Vance in New York, when he lived there, so that Cyrus Vance, the prosecutor, wouldn't go after him and let the kids off because he'd give campaign contributions, and he was part of New York Democratic Society, believe it or not. Right. Once he went and became a Republican and started attacking all these people and all that sort of stuff, they hate him now. and I just think that that's part A. Part B is he's so stupid and he's so sloppy and he said stuff out loud and they've done stuff. I really do think based on those factors that they're eventually going to get indicted, and I think they're either going to get caught and some of them thrown in jail, they're going to flee the country. That's what I think is going to happen.
It's sloppy, and it's also everything we now know. We are all now experts on Donald Trump. You New Yorkers were before, but the rest of us became experts in the last 5 years. Knowing everything you know about Donald Trump, do you think this man wouldn't cheat on his taxes?
Oh.
Do you think this man wouldn't cheat on some business deal, on some licensing, on some zoning,
on everything, on every financial interaction he ever took part in?
I don't think not only do I not think he's an honest person, but I think he's aggressively dishonest because he's such a narcissist. Everything is, how can I make an extra buck? How can I benefit me? And I think you're just wired differently. Like I said, I'm always worried about my taxes, even though I have never once tried to play a game with my taxes. But I'm still, as a self-employed person, I'm always worried about being audited. It's just like,
let me ask you this. I am too. How long is the Secret Service? Didn't they change that law so the Secret Service protects them now for like 5 or 10 years or something like that? Is that what it is?
Oh, it's permanent. People misreported it. Unfortunately, most of the stuff still sticks.
Because I was going to say, I don't want anything to happen to Secret Service agents. I'm not sitting here wishing violence, but if you really want to be evil and you were these prosecutors, you basically would say, fine, don't tell us what happened. We'll let the Mexican cartels and the Russian mobsters, whatever, know what money you stole from them. Good luck.
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. Who knows if he did? I mean, I don't know. There's no evidence.
He did. Again, the narcissism, the whatever, I have no doubt.
No, I just think it's in any case, yes, there's probably a lot to find here. And unfortunately for Don Jr., he's probably at the top of the totem pole of people he's at the top of the totem pole of people I would suspect of being less than lily clean. But who knows? But
guess we'll find out.
Anyway, all right, let's wrap this up. It's Thursday, so we'll talk to you guys next week. I'm back in DC, so we'll probably do Tuesday because my Monday's very, very busy getting my allergy shots and all those other fun things. And we'll probably see you Tuesday, and there you go.
Well, we will. We've got Amanda Marcotte.
Oh, that's right. We got Amanda on Tuesday. I forgot about that. We're definitely doing Amanda Marcotte. Talk more about the insurrection, her concerns about the Republicans planning for violence in the future, which we share. So it'll be kind of fun. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for being here, guys.